Smith has kind of fallen off over the last few years. The last 5 to 10 years of Kevin Smith's career has not been illustrious. Back in 1994, when I kind of discovered Kevin Smith movies, when Clerks came out, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, like all those movies are absolute classics, movies I love, movies that actually inspired me to take more interest in what the lower end of the scale had to offer. Those were the movies that really got me into independent movies, talky talk movies. Other than the fact that we had the odd shining light of Clerks 3 that was actually pretty damn good and not as bad as some of the other stuff he's been making, didn't expect a movie like the 4:30 movie to really be Kevin Smith at his absolute finest. Today we're talking about the 4:30 movie, a movie that I am absolutely dying to talk to everyone about, and I really think that Kevin Smith might be back in his bag once again with something that I wasn't truly expecting, and I'm so happy we got. My name is Kevin Haldon. This is Nerdly Out Loud, the official channel of nerdly.co.uk, your favourite British home for all your news, reviews and exclusive interviews. I like to cover everything from the big budget to the low budget to the no budget, and I am the first to admit when maybe I was wrong about something. Maybe, just maybe, people can still surprise us and give us something that we just needed in our lives. The 4:30 movie is absolutely the kind of movie I love. It's the kind of movie I want to see. And here we are talking about Kevin Smith making a great film again. So the 4:30 movie tells the story of Brian David. Never trust a man with two first names. Brian David has finally worked up the courage to ask out this girl that he's fancied for like over a year. We get little flashbacks of him and this girl, Melody Barnegat, in a swimming pool together, kind of macking on a little bit, but they don't take it any further. He doesn't ask her out, and then he spends the next year pining over her. She apparently, as we will find out, spends the next year kind of wondering what the hell is wrong with him and why he didn't make a move. This Buck Lick movie is coming out on this day, and he loves nothing more than going to the cinema and spending the day with his best friends. So he decides he's going to ask Melody Barnegat to the 4:30 movie, and they're going to go and watch Buck Lick together. This is a Kevin Smith movie. This is a coming-of-age movie. This is a teenage drama of a movie. So we need to have stuff and things happen along the way that are going to make this not quite smooth sailing. So other than the obvious, there's not really much else to tell about this story. It is just a lot of shenanigans with the cinema manager not really liking the guys and kicking them out on a few occasions. They come across some cinema-going customers who are going to cause some issues. There's going to be like 1,000,001 cameos in this movie, which is something we always love to see. And we're going to get some clips. We're going to see some scenes from the movie that they are actually going to watch, because obviously they go to watch a movie before the 4:30 movie, which is Buck Lick. So they kind of like, they're going to see a movie called Astro Blaster, which 100,000,000% I want to see that movie. Like, Kevin Smith, if you're going to release a physical version of this, or if you're going to release, like, I don't know, something to go alongside this, I want to see that Astro Blaster movie. But we're going to talk a little bit about the cast and crew now and get into this a little bit more. But in terms of plot and in terms of story, there's not much else to say. It is just a coming-of-age teenage drama with a little bit of angst, things going wrong, things going right, and we're just going to love our characters. We're going to talk about three friends first. We're going to talk about them first because they are kind of the central piece of the movie, starting with Brian David, which is Austin Zajur. Now, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong here, this is his first proper feature film lead, and he is absolutely killing it in this film. He gets that teenage angst so well. He plays the role so well, pining after the girl. You know, his friends are a little bit more of a hindrance than anything else. He's maybe moving away from a little bit, but he still loves the camaraderie that they have. And that's another thing, like, the chemistry that these three kids have is untold. Like, it is brilliant. You cannot fault it one tiny little bit. But for the most part, his character is us. We are in love with Melody. We want to go to the cinema with Melody. That is what he wants to do. Brian David is us, and he wants to go to the cinema with Melody Barnegat and his friends, starting with Bernie, played by Nicholas Cirillo. Little bit older than the other two, I kind of feel. A little bit more experienced than the other two, I kind of feel. He is kind of the I don't want to say he's the antagonist. He's not the antagonist, but he's kind of they're going to lock heads a little bit because he really kind of loves this little group that they've got. He kind of loves Brian David, and he doesn't want some girl coming in and ruin this. We can all relate to that story. It happened when we were kids, you know. So it's one of those things that Bernie is sort of, you know, we all had that friend that we looked up to, but you know, wanted to be the main guy. And I think Nicholas Cirillo plays this absolutely perfectly. While we are Brian David, we are also Nicholas Cirillo. I mean, I could say this about all three of the main characters. We are the three characters. Like, as a man growing up, as a young boy growing up, I am each of these three characters, and I can see certain traits in each of them that relates to me, which is why I think I really got on with this movie, and I think most people will get on with this movie, because it's super bloody relatable in three different roles. Barely, played by Reed Northup, he is sort of like embracing it all. He sees his friends, doesn't really get a word in edgeways most of the movie because they are the driving force of this friendship group, and he's just there to sort of soak it all up. But he's also the moral compass, the conscience, the heart, the soul of this group. And when he does get a chance to deliver like what could be considered a monologue, which it definitely is, pulling the team back together and getting everyone back on the same page, he absolutely nails it, and it's earned and it's deserved. Now, we've talked a lot about Melody Barnegat, but we haven't talked about who plays her, Siena Agudong. Now, I recognized her straight away. There was a Netflix TV show called No Good Nick that I watched with my daughters a little while ago. Absolutely fantastic in that show. And in this, she looks kind of really different. Not quite, but we do recognize her, and she's so cool. She is everything you remember about that girl next door or that girl in school that you just fancied the absolute pants off. Now, I'm not saying that I fancied this kid, but I'm saying the way that we show her, the way that she is on screen, the presence that she has, you can completely relate to who this girl was. And of course, this is a Kevin Smith movie, so I want to talk a little bit about Kevin Smith for a second, because yes, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Clerks, Dogma, I love all of those movies. Jay and Silent Bob, I love that movie. Red State is one of my favorite movies ever made. I think it's a completely underrated gem of a movie. Came out well ahead of its time, unfortunately. But then we kind of have Tusk, Yoga Hosers, and the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, which, although is quite clever, I just wasn't into it. Let's be honest, his career for me has been a little bit hit and miss over the last 5-10 years. Yes, he's been concentrating on podcasts, and then he had his heart attack, he's lost all of his weight, and I fully respect everything the man has been doing in his personal life. I just think that professionally, his movies have been a little bit pants for some time. Honestly, this movie has so much heart, so much love to it, and the thing about it is, like, I'm pretty sure that it's a very personal tale. Like, make no mistake, Brian David is Kevin Smith. Like, I feel like this story is 100% a true story. It's something he's been through. We know he loved going to the cinemas. We know all of that good stuff. It's kind of like, as a filmmaker, Kevin Smith has grown up, whereas for the last few years, it feels like Kevin Smith was just sort of stuck in a period. And I get it's all like the weed and getting high and stuff like that. But I did mention that he does have some regular people popping up. With the likes of Ming Chen from Comic Book Men, we know he is like a big Kevin Smith cohort. We also have the likes of Method Man popping up, which was really cool to see him. Ralph Garman, the podcast co-host, is all up in this movie for like a couple of little scenes, doing what Ralph Garman does best. I really like Ralph Garman. Sam Richardson playing like a wrestler that is a little bit misunderstood, and I loved the little twist to his character. It really made sense. Ken Jeong Chan from The Hangover, so cool to see him as the cinema manager. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. It actually brings a ton to this movie. I think a lot of it was probably improv. I would love to think it was improv, but he brings so much to this movie that you kind of don't really expect Ken Jeong to bring. So it was great to see him do that. Jeff Anderson gets a cheeky little cameo. Loved that. It was always great to see Jeff Anderson on screen. Justin Long gets a little cameo. Excellent. Justin Long, actually, his cameo is superb. Like, it's so cool. Harley Quinn Smith, of course we are going to get Harley Quinn Smith, because this man loves putting his daughter in his movies now. But thankfully, it wasn't like a leading role this time around. Like, you know, the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, I couldn't really invest myself fully in the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, because I think Harley Quinn Smith, although she's a good actor, I don't think she's a great actor. And in this, she gets a cameo in like these fake trailers that get made, which are really cool. And she plays like this serial killing prostitute nun, which I thought was fantastic. Like, I would watch that movie big time. Speaking of the movie trailers as well, we get a little bit of Jason Biggs shitting his pants, which was really cool. I quite enjoyed to see that. Rosario Dawson picking up a little cameo towards the end of the movie. We know we love Rosario Dawson. And Genesis Rodriguez, big fan of Genesis Rodriguez, and she gets a really nice role in here. A role that I was quite surprised to see her in. Well, yeah, I feel like I've already dealt with what I did and didn't like, and a lot of it is, I love the story. I think the story is very good. I think it works really well. I think the three main characters are excellent together. I think Melody Barnegat is a great character. I love the heart. I love the soul. I love what Kevin Smith's doing here. Again, it feels same but different. Really, really happy to see Kevin Smith making a movie that I'm fully invested in. I think this is a movie that, if people find it, if people find the 4:30 movie, they're going to really enjoy this. I would love to have seen this at the cinema. This would have been a great cinema movie for me. At its absolute core, this movie doesn't need to be bells and whistles or anything like that. It's just a great little story we can enjoy, and that's what I loved about it. It gave me something different for a while, and I was so happy to get something different for a while. So yeah, I'm just going to jump into my final Nerdly Out Loud rating, and that is my rating, not the rating of Nerdly as a whole, but it is my rating, and you can take it to the bank. And honestly, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5. Mostly for the fact that I wasn't expecting it. I saw Kevin Smith had made a new movie. I was a little bit worried because I haven't really fully enjoyed a Kevin Smith movie for a while now. I think this would easily go into my top 3 Kevin Smith movies, potentially top 2, possibly. But I think this definitely gets in the top 3 at least. I think this is a movie that when it gets found, if it gets found, people should find it. They will enjoy it. I love Clerks. It came out, it was completely different. It was counterculture. It was 1994. It was everything we needed at that moment. Indie filmmaking, guerrilla filmmaking. Clerks is a classic. I love Chasing Amy because it gave us a full story. It gave us a complete full story about people's lives that I don't think we'd got from Kevin Smith up until that point. Chasing Amy is a fantastic film. Dogma's classic. I do love Dogma. I could watch that any time of the day. Would I put it in my top 3 Kevin Smiths? I'm not entirely sure. Red State is an incredible movie. It got shat on from a great height. Nobody wanted to touch it. I never understood why people didn't like Red State as much as I did. It was way ahead of its time. It had a great story to it. Michael Parks delivers one hell of a monologue and absolutely smashes every scene in that movie. Almost undone by his role in Tusk, but you know, when it comes to Tusk, he's the best thing in that. We won't talk about Cop Out, and I'm not saying I'm taking any away from the likes Jersey Girl, Mallrats, Bob, Jay and Bob reboot, Jay and Bob. I'm not taking things away from those movies. They are still great movies that I enjoy, but they're my top movies. And this movie, the 4:30 movie, could easily be in amongst the top 3. It's a fantastic film. It's a great return to form. I wasn't expecting this from Kevin Smith, but when you watch it, it feels familiar to a Kevin Smith movie. It feels like he wrote this with his heart, and I'm so glad we got it. So yeah, I'm giving this movie a 5 out of 5, and I can't wait to see what he brings us next. If it's Clerks 4, if it's Mallrats 3, Dogma 2, whatever we get from Kevin Smith, just do more of this, same but different, very different but very similar. Do all of this. I would love to see what he does next. This is a fantastic film with some performances I think people would be absolutely blown away by from these young kids. So yeah, go watch 4:30 movie. You will absolutely love it. It's a great film.